Stamattina mi sono alzato, oh bella ciao, bella ciao.
Bella Ciao, a war song, a partisan song, the song from La Casa de Papel, or maybe none of those things. If you search the song on YouTube, hundreds of results will come up, each one of them with millions of views. The comments are full to the brim of people either citing Money Heist or criticizing the people citing Money Heist. They always write the same moralistic paragraph about the deep and tragic history behind the music, parroted from the comment just above. And about 2 comments later, someone shouting, "Oh my god, I've heard this Spanish song on Netflix before." Then you have the Italians flexing their Italianness and their broken English. I'm 14, I'm from Italy, and this is so deep. So, what is this all about? Where did Bella Ciao come from? I'm here to explain this to you from my Italian high horse. First of all, a bit of context. Italy joined World War II in 1940. Mussolini was inspired by Hitler's successful military campaigns. Poland fell, then Denmark and Norway, and eventually the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. When Hitler launched his invasion of France, Mussolini couldn't help himself and chose to enter the war in the hopes of conquering some territories with just a few men lost. This turned out to be a grave mistake. By 1943, the tides of war were shifting. Germany lost more and more ground in the east to the Soviets, and Sicily was invaded by the Allies. 1 month later, in September, the Duce, Mussolini, was ousted from power by the King of Italy and the government. The king and his cabinet fled to the Allied-occupied south, while Mussolini was convinced by Hitler to set up a puppet state in the north, the Italian Social Republic, or Repubblica di Salò. In the following years, many pockets of resistance fought against the occupying forces, often managing to liberate major cities in cooperation with the advancing Allied armies. So, where are the partisans singing Bella Ciao while freeing Naples, Florence, or maybe Milan? Well, not really. Let's try and get to the origins of the song. When was it written? Short answer, we don't know. The English Wikipedia states that Bella Ciao was originally sung by the Mondina workers in protest against the harsh working conditions in the paddy fields of northern Italy. However, this is put into doubt by the Italian Wikipedia, which says that historians found out the Mondina version was probably written in 1952 by Vasco Scanzani from Gualtieri, who himself took inspiration from the partisan version. Therefore, it must have been written before 1952, but this we already knew, since it was sung during World War II, right? Well, wrong. There is no concrete proof that it was sung by partisans. Its title, Bella Ciao, is mentioned in some letters from the era. The music can be traced back to some northern Italian folk songs, but the full lyrics are the true mystery. Not a trace of them can be found in the 1940-1945 period, but surely the partisans themselves must remember singing such an iconic song. Again, not really. It appears that most people who fought for the Italian resistance during the war don't remember singing Bella Ciao. They often remember other songs like Fischia il vento or La Brigata Garibaldi. This makes it ever more likely that the song was written after the war. However, there is no consensus on this. One thing, though, is for sure. It wasn't nearly as popular as it is today. The song first appeared in the 1950s but grew in popularity in Italy in the 1960s and eventually spread all over the world. But why did Bella Ciao become so famous? Well, sure, the joyous mood, the catchiness of the music and its symbolic meaning is what made it famous abroad, and also La Casa de Papel, I guess. But how did it get famous in the first place here in Italy, where we had other, more original songs like Fischia il vento? Well, let's take a listen.
Fischia il vento, urla la bufera, scarpe rotte, pur bisogna andar a conquistare la rossa primavera.
Wait, stop. Did you hear that? That is the reason. A conquistare la rossa primavera, or in English, to conquer the red spring. This tune surely isn't as joyous as Bella Ciao or other more recent versions of this song, like the one by the Modena City Ramblers you're listening to in the background, but you see, the secret ingredient is communism. After the end of the war, Italy found itself trapped between the Eastern Bloc, led by the USSR, and the Western Bloc, led by the USA. The country was occupied by the Allies, but most partisans were communists and hoped for a revolution. When the fascist regime banned all oppositions, the PCE, il Partito Comunista Italiano, was the only one that kept resisting. It should be no surprise then that many of the resistance fighters were organized by the Communist Party. Sure, there were other entities like the Catholics or the Socialists, but they were a minority. This was a problem for the Western democracies, who feared that Italy might fall in the hands of a left-wing government, or worse. Therefore, the Allies were very lenient with ex-fascists, absolving most of them of all charges. They hoped that these would prevent the complete collapse of the right and mitigate the risk of a revolution. Nonetheless, the left-wing coalition managed to win the 1946 elections with 40% of the vote, but went on to govern with center-right Democrazia Cristiana in order not to provoke the Western Allies. In the same year, the monarchy was abolished via referendum and the Italian Republic was born. 2 years later, in 1948, the country got its constitution, an anti-fascist masterpiece agreed upon by all parties. In the following elections, the Christian Democrats won, and they stayed in power for over 40 years. The Communist Party, however, was not defeated yet, and the USA often had to intervene in Italian politics to mitigate their growing popularity and prevent them from winning. Doing so often meant promoting instability in the country by stoking far-right extremism and even arranging for a coup if push came to shove. It was in this tense climate that Bella Ciao rose in popularity. Italy needed a known political song which could commemorate the struggles of the partisans without directly celebrating the communist ideals. A song to remember the fight against the Germans, but not the failed revolution. A song that could unite the whole population, except for the neo-fascists. Well, let's take a look at some lyrics, starting from Fischia il vento. A conquistare la rossa primavera. As we said, not a great start. Dove sorge il sol dell'avvenir, or where the sun of the future rises. Great line, but it might give strange ideas to some. Ormai sicura è la dura sorte del fascista vile traditor. Bonus points on my book for saying fascism equals bad, but it might upset some of our electorate. Should have just mentioned the Nazis instead. Sventolando la rossa tua bandiera. Again, too much red. Let's try with bandiera rossa. Oh god, bad choice. The red flag will be triumphant. Long live socialism and freedom. Proletariats. Unacceptable. Next one. Well, I've never heard of this one before. Bella Ciao. Farewell, my love. Very nostalgic. Good. One morning I awoke and I found the invaders. Just perfect. Very promising. And then more good stuff. If I die as a partisan, bury me in the mountains where I fought and plant a flower in my memory. People will know what I did to liberate my country. They'll know I died fighting for freedom. Oh yes, no mentions of pesky communists. Bella Ciao it is. Now, I'm not saying that's all there is. The song is great, and there was no big conspiracy to spread it all over, but it is true that it was often favored over the more radical partisan songs. And mind you, it is still often considered a left-leaning song here in Italy, with protesters just recently singing it against the right-wing government of Giorgia Meloni.
Dunque, buongiorno a tutti, grazie.
However, it is also used by institutions and sung on every 25th of April during Liberation Day celebrations. The President of the Italian Republic, Giorgio Mattarella, a non-political figure, recited it after Russia invaded Ukraine, for example.
Che le forze armate della Federazione Russa avevano invaso l'Ucraina, si è subito affiancato il pensiero agli ucraini e pensando a loro mi sono venute in mente, come la senatrice Liliana Segre, le parole «Questa mattina mi sono svegliato e ho trovato l'invasore». Sappiamo tutti da dove sono tratte queste parole, sono le prime di Bella Ciao.
To recap, Bella Ciao was never sung by partisans, but it was popularized after the war to remember their struggle to liberate the country, while also sidelining their communist ideals. And today, it is sung all over the globe as a symbol of resistance and defiance, often, but not always, by left-leaning movements. It has been translated in pretty much all languages, sung by the Red Army Choir, by Hong Kong protesters against China, by Turkish people against Erdogan, by Palestinians, by Kurds, by the Irish, by the Basques, and so many more. But don't forget about La Casa de Papel. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video. I'd really appreciate it if you also left a comment expressing your opinions. Well, see you soon e alla prossima!